How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Draft to the Future. I'm Matt. Ryan's working social media, and we're going to fight like all hour because our wide receiver boards are chaos. But we're happy you're here to join us and maybe referee. A friendship may end today. But after we do that, we're going to do a round one mock because we're getting pretty close to the draft and, just kind of give you some insight into kind of what we're looking at. So really, we can just kind of dive into this with an opening assertion in that we have very different opinions on these wide receivers.
We do. I don't know about you, but again, I think it's a class where it's a pick your flavor type thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's not very many clear wide receiver ones. There's a bunch of guys that could eventually be wide receiver ones, but I'm not necessarily sold on a bunch of these guys. What about you?
Well, so for me, I have to ask the question: how do you define wide receiver one?
Um, to me, it's a clear cut um, guy on the outside that can dominate no matter who's guarding him, or at
So
least
yeah. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, or at least provide some sort of upside or command double teams, on the field.
So with that definition, I understand your perspective. I I have a more simplistic definition for that. It's your receptions or touchdown leader, and if you got both, then you're really in a good spot. So I don't really care so much where you're at. I care that you are the guy the quarterback looks for when he's looking for someone.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, let's get started. We're going to talk about Carnell Tate. We both have Carnell Tate at number one. Um, I have waffled a little bit on him at times, but when it comes down to it, to me, I look at him and I see a guy that's got incredible body control. He's got a pretty solid route tree. Uh, People are a little concerned about his speed, but I'm not really. He looks like he has plenty of that. The one thing I will say is that he doesn't have necessarily the greatest initial burst off the line, his releases, and he's not super elusive. He's more of like a long striding type guy. So there's that. But I think that his ability to make hands catches and be physical at the point of attack makes him a clear candidate to be a wide receiver one for a team.
I think Tate is the easiest option for number one. I think a lot of people are gonna, and I'm gonna have a reoccurring theme, but I'm gonna wait until I talk about another guy. Um, I think sometimes you just don't nuke it. When you watch the film and he's the guy who's making the big plays, then he's the guy you should select. If I ran the Browns, I would probably, depending upon who's off the board. If Maui Noah's off the board, I take Tate.
Yeah. So you want to talk about your number two?
Yes, because now I can bring up my whole thing. I have an assertion. 40 times are horribly underrated. And what annoys me is right about now, there are a lot of people nodding their heads, but then you'll pull up a 40 time and someone will go like, oh, I don't know if he can pull away. Like, are they overrated or not? I say they are. It's almost like the faster you run, the worse your receiving skills are. So I don't care what Denzel Boston's 40 time would have been. He's clearly fast enough, and his shuttle time is elite. And that's kind of where you're looking at it. Also, what does it matter if he's covered? The ball is still his. A 50-50 ball is like a 70-30 ball. So, I hear the comps to Coleman from Buffalo last year, and I'm amused because they're not the same guy. So Boston is elite at catching the ball, regardless of whether or not there's anyone nearby him. He can definitely separate with his route running skills, and the fact that you have to watch film at like 3 in the morning to see Washington is really blinding you to what he's capable of, which again is going to be a growing theme on my list. But the guy is going to put up 10 touchdowns next year. Maybe it's his only 10 receptions, but it's 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, for me, the thing, he's not super agile, but he does have pretty good change of direction with like just putting the one foot in the ground and making the cut. Um, and he reminds me a lot, honestly, of T. Higgins, who fell to round two. Uh, Big body, jump ball guy, not the greatest speed, but he's got enough speed, and that's exactly what T. Higgins was. So I think there's a good chance that a team's going to end up lucking into him at the end of round one, and they're going to just be ecstatic. He honestly could fall to round two. Um, but yeah, Boston is a guy that I think has a lot of upside and can definitely be a team's main target, especially in the red zone. So my number two is your number three, and that's Omar Cooper Jr. Omar Cooper Jr. was the better wide receiver on Indiana for me. And what I love about him is he is a very physical, over the middle type threat. He really handles contact well. And when he catches the ball in the open field, he essentially is a running back, and it becomes really, really hard to get him down. So he's got great yards after the catch ability. That big play, breakout type guy. He doesn't have the greatest length, and Indiana's system is really heavy on the RPO. So it's going to be interesting to see. There's going to be some route tree stuff that needs to be improved upon. But I think that Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be a really, really strong wide receiver. He's going to be able to catch. He's going to be able to bring in a lot of targets for a team.
So I started a phrase when the Niners went to their first Shanahan Super Bowl. And it's, if you want to tackle me, bring a friend. That's Omar Cooper Jr.
Yeah. All right. You want to talk about your number four and my number three?
So I want to affirm that I have number 2 wide receiver love for Mekhi Lemon and number 7 wide receiver cognizance with Mekhi Lemon, which is literally why I landed at 4. Mekhi Lemon physically has no business playing as well as he's playing. Now, I was here when I said look out for outliers when talking about Ruben Bain. The difference is corners can't play corner in the NFL. It's two-hand touch. So a smaller guy like Lemon isn't going to have the same issues that anyone on the line where physicality still lives. Now he does have smaller hands, which I'm surprised people aren't talking about, but I think no one's talking about it because he doesn't drop any footballs. He catches like a high percentage of his receptions. So there's no evidence to support his small hands are bothering him. So when you have a limitation, but you have a 73.1% catch percentage, then you just kind of shrug and be like, well, that's weird. And there's evidence to support why you can forget that one. I get the height questions, although I'm not convinced height is look, what was it? Last year we had a guy who was the shortest dude in a long time. He was 5'8" and he had 1,000 yards. And I'm like, yeah, but we just had a 5'8" guy with 1,000 yards because you can't play football on the perimeter anymore. It used to be you better be 6 foot because if you weren't, you were gonna like perish in some sort of brutal car accident as a tackle. But those rules are gone. So the smaller, lighter people have way more opportunity to display what they can do because no one in the backfield can commit assault anymore.
Yeah.
If these are back in the Ronnie Lott days, this is a very different list. So I'm less worried about Mekhi Lemon. I believe in him. I would take him in round 1. Um, but you have to kind of parse out how comfortable you feel, even though he's an outlier in some ways.
Yeah, one thing I really like about him is he has really late hands. So when a defensive back is trying to time the ball, he does what Jamar Chase does, which is like last second is when his hands come out. Um, and I think that's how he kind of mitigates his issues against longer defensive backs that have the reach on him. And so that's something I really like about him. But I think he's a really strong player that I think can that is going to be a heavy target share type guy on a team.
Yep.
So
I wouldn't be shocked if Mekhi Lemon led this class in receptions rookie year.
yeah. All right. So we're gonna get into Jordan Tyson now. A lot of people have Jordan Tyson as their wide receiver 1. A lot of people have him as the only true wide receiver 1 in this class. And my thing is I cannot ignore the injury things. I do think he has great twitch. He has solid speed, but even though he does seem to get caught from behind a lot in the open field, he's got really good body control. He's like Mekhi Lemon with his late hands. But man, those injury issues are terrifying, especially when a guy that relies so much on his twitch to gain separation. That scares me. And so I can't take him in round 1 because of that. Now, if a team wants to take him in round 2, I completely understand. But I just can't get behind him going in round 1 because we have had consistent issues of injuries at the collegiate level.
So I still have a lot of regard for Jordan Tyson, but I've been on the record all years thinking he's a round 2 guy because he's not a breakaway guy, and everyone keeps trying to tell me he is, and I keep looking for footage where he ever breaks away. But the only thing that breaks is whatever ligament he's playing with, and if he can't play a 14-game season, how is he going to ever finish a 17-game season? I
Or
also know
soon to
that
be 18.
I also know that Mel Kiper talked about like, oh, there's this one guy he was really injured a lot in college, but then never got injured. I'm like, you can't point at exceptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, well, look at how well Russell Wilson did. That's why, Kyler Murray got drafted and Young got drafted. And I'm like, yeah, Kyler Murray got kicked out of his team. And I promise you, Young is not far behind. Like it's all well and good to point out exceptions. And I think Murray is an undervalued quarterback, but you're talking about a guy who performed pretty well and played a lot of games and won a lot of those games. And that's still not good enough. You have to perform well, especially when there were already, at least on my end, there were already questions about because again, the guys I'm looking at round 1, and I get it. Like you can say that Tate is slower and that because you're looking at a 40 time. 40 times are underrated. Clip this. Listen carefully.
Overrated, you mean?
40 times are overrated. The once you're a sub 4.5 guy, you're fast enough, and players are different when there's someone behind you. And so everyone talks like, watch the film. We're data driven, film confirmed. And if I can't find footage of you like pulling away from guys or at least not getting tackled from behind, like to me, that's the easiest metric in the world. And everyone in front of Tyson, at least for me, Tate, Boston, Cooper, Lemon, you don't have an argument until you get in the 6-7 neighborhood, and he fell lower because of his injuries. But stop looking at 40 times and thinking they matter. You're lying to yourself.
All right, why don't you go ahead and talk about the first guy that is unique to one of our boards, and that's your number 5 player.
I believe in Zachariah Branch. And everyone knocks his he's a check down merchant, he's a screen guy merchant. You're telling me you're going to yell at a guy for doing what he was told to do, and you're clearly ignoring his USC tape. When he did go beyond 15 yards, his numbers were fine. They were just fine. I would be worried if he went beyond those yards and had no catches. He had like 8 targets and this or that, but you go look at his target share and he's no worse than anyone else. So you're going to penalize him for playing in Noodle Arm, Georgia. But you're going to praise Oscar Delp and blame the quarterback for him. You can't have it both ways. It can't be both. So you're talking about a guy who is brilliant at plucking the ball out of the air. You're talking about a guy with true breakaway speed. You're talking about a guy with true special teams upside. I'm going to be unbearable if I get him at 65. I'm going to be intolerable because he's going, the only fear, and for a little bit, if you go in my original top 100, I had Zachariah Branch and Mekhi Lemon flipped. And I only flipped it back because I didn't want to get too overreacting to Lemon's physical shortcomings. So I'm telling you, the number one receiving leader, the receiver with the most catches, it's either gonna be Mekhi Lemon or Zachariah Branch. I promise it.
Yeah, for me, like the route tree stuff does worry me because he had something like 70% of his passes were basically line of scrimmage or behind, and so like that is concerning to me, and he's also super small and doesn't have great length, and he doesn't look as strong in his frame as a guy like Omar Cooper Jr. And so that's where I'm at with him. I do think he can be good in the league, and I think there's a good chance he will be if he goes to the right team. But yeah, that's why I'm lower on him. And again, for me, the difference between player 25 on my board and player 125 on my board is not very much in this draft. So it's not like I am like horribly low on him. It's just he's not someone that I want to bet on personally. Um, so my next guy, I think you'll notice maybe a trend here. I've got a lot more of the bigger guys, I think. So I think that might be where some of our differences are here on some of the guys we have. Bryce Lance. He is a big play guy with great hands. He has had a ton of big plays where he just dominated lower talent at NDSU. He's 6'3", 204. Where he does struggle is he doesn't necessarily have the greatest separation, and he needs to improve his release. But how he makes up with the lack of separation is that he has those great hands. He wins at the point of contact or point of attack, sorry. And he definitely can be a trusty target for a team. He's probably going to go on day 2, somewhere between like 50 and 75 range, I would assume. And I think he can be a very, very strong like wide receiver 2 for a team.
So my favorite metric for wide receivers is one they almost never do. It's the shuttle. He had a 4.51 shuttle. They're making it very hard to look at Bryce Lance. The last time I went to PFF to look at his man coverage grade, they just basically said no. Like it's like 2 lines. Like
still doesn't exist. Yeah.
So it's frustrating, but even with like nothing there, like just to give you an impression on how deep I think this class is, I think Ryan's absolutely right. He goes probably no later than round 3, probably like mid to late round 3. That's the window for him. I have a first round score for him. There's just a whole lot of guys with first round scores. So he's not in my top 10, but there are like 20 wideouts I would happily take between pick 15 and the end of round 3 and feel like I'm getting a steal.
All right. And then another guy we differ on, which is Jacoby Lane.
So I'm trying to understand the hate for Jacoby Lane. I think my theory is, I genuinely believe this. We live in a world where we can't like Ty Simpson without making Fernando Mendoza suck. We can't like Mekhi Lemon without making Jacoby Lane suck. And I think that it's just possible that USC is stacked. The guy's 6'4". The guy's plenty fast enough. I don't have a shuttle for him, but he's plenty fast enough in the 4.47 range. And he has huge hands. I think some people I tried to look at his contested catch specifically. When I went to watch Lemon to get a final feeling on where he was, I couldn't stop looking at Jacoby Lane. I think he's a first round wide receiver. I think he's a possession guy. I think he's a big body guy who can elbow people out. There are data points that I see that people can argue with. Number one, the contested catch. But, you look at the contested catch percentage of 47.6, and that's on 21 targets. So it's not laughable, but only 21 of his 74 targets were contested catches to begin with. So the guy's getting open at 6'4". He's a scoring machine. He's a reliable target. He's gonna be a steal. And I'm getting annoyed because I'm starting to not be able to draft him where I want him to be. And he's kind of like the guy I'm going to draft that guy in round 2 or 3 and have my number one receiver figured out. So Jacoby Lane, I mentioned it last week. I don't want to leave this draft without him. I'm starting to be afraid I can't. But the guy is going to be a steal, and people are ignoring him, and no one's ever really explained why.
I will explain my reasons why. I heard that the reason his last name is Lane is because he can only run fast in a straight line. Say it's a stay in the lane. But I think the reason he didn't do any agility testing is because he is horribly unathletic unless it's going straight. He has enough speed to go straight, but when I watch him, I see someone who sells his routes a lot, with whether it's his head or turning his body early. It's pretty easy for the DB to see where he's going, and for someone of his size, I also didn't see a ton of physicality, which was concerning for me. I do think he can be a guy on a team that can be that deep threat, that can try to take the top off of a defense, and can be a jump ball type receiver. But in terms of his actual ability to ever be like a plus route runner, I don't see it personally. And that's where I'm at with him.
I'm gonna because again, this is a guy I'm gonna fight for. You and I both read a study by Matt Baum, who does the RAS,
Mm-hmm.
and this has been a particularly contested year where people want to fail prospects because they don't do certain drills. And his words are, good athletes are good athletes. So to think that they would just be atrocious because they don't test when they're a 9.39, and that's Jacoby Lane, 9.39. His data, Matt Baum's data, supports my data. So I don't know that he'd do a 4.15 shuttle, but I've seen him run plenty of whip routes. What was the game I watched? Oregon. USC played Oregon, and I would argue Jacoby Lane was the more valuable receiver in that game. So in this case, we can agree to disagree, but I'm looking forward to looking at it as a case study because I'm gonna have to see him fail to believe the assertions. But none of these guys do themselves any favor when they don't do this testing.
Yeah, I kind of comp him to Corey Davis, who most would probably call a bust in the league. Now, if you get him in round 3 or later, I'm okay with it. You can take that value, that guy that can at least play a role for you. But I'm not worried. I'm not taking him any higher than that. So I'm going to talk about Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. He is a very solid route runner. He has really good body position on the DB, so like he gets himself in the position to where he can really have command over the ball. He's got a great catch radius with good length and everything like that. If it's a contested catch, he's pretty much going to make it. He's not the fastest or the twitchiest, but he has good size. And I think he's got a really high upside. So he's a guy that I am actually a really big fan of. I actually got to sit in a Twitter space and listen to him talk. And he also just seems like a genuinely good person. So easy to root for. And I think that he's going to continue to improve.
Ted Hurst has a lot of good data that really supports what he's going to be. And again, there's a lot of close bunching. Your 6 through 10 are probably my 11 through 15. I don't know if you're vice versa with me, but it's just how dense this class is. But Ted Hurst is a very, very valuable prospect.
Yeah, and I know why you're lower on him. It's probably the drops, right?
Yep.
Yep. And that makes sense. He's the one guy that I like. Honestly, I ignored the drops a little bit here because I don't think that he necessarily had a great team around him. And that's kind of where I was like, he's putting a lot on himself. And I think that he's trying to make every play a home run. So he's turning and trying to move faster. So it's more of a concentration drop type thing. But
so, I mean, he had 7 drops on 125 targets. So
yeah,
if that math is really 9%, I'm trying to like figure out how that maths. So it's, I get real antsy, whenever I see like more than 5. And then when I look at the 5 and if they just come right off your hand, because there are some guys who get credited with a drop because the quarterback throws a hospital ball and the wide receiver just didn't survive, which I think is unfair. I don't know what that's called, but it's not a drop. And so those are kind of areas where he doesn't get the respect he deserves, but he's not far down my list from this point. The drops for me combined with the small school thing, because I'm looking at a guy who, like Bryce Lance, unarguably looked like a man among children. So I'm more comfortable with him.
Yeah.
Ted Hurst was better on the field, but I didn't see the same like jump off the screen evolution. So I want to see it. I'd rather pay him in a second contract than roll the dice on him in a draft class that has so many receivers I feel more comfortable with.
Yeah, so let's hear about your flag plant, who I love, that you threw in there at number 7.
Oh man, I've been high on Skylar Bell from jump.
What?
Oh wait, are you talking about
7.
Elijah? Kendrick Law. Okay, yeah. So I have been high on Skylar Bell from jump, but I just misplaced my numbers. Kendrick Law is a guy I discovered about 3 weeks ago, and I can't stop watching him. He reminds me of a TO who can actually catch. That's what I see when I see him. I like being a 49ers fan. T.O. was always open, but the ball be in the air and be like, catch it, catch it, catch it. Ah, yeah. You know? Kendrick Law has this unique ability, and hold on, he's 5'11", so he's a little shorter. He does not look 5'11", though. He really does look like 6'2", mostly because he's 203 pounds. But the guy has one drop. Remember how I like guys who stay under 5? That's just a personal bias. But the guy is just constantly open. He's got a 42-inch vertical, and he just bursts out of his step. So he's got really elite breakaway potential. What was his? Like his 10-yard split, I think is misleading. All I know is you look at any one of his highlights and it's catch ball. Some poor guy misses because he's not where he was when he caught it, and he's gone. And I genuinely have spent a lot of necessary time out of my life just like, oh, look at him there, look at him there, look at him there. Just he's becoming my favorite guy to watch because every catch is a highlight.
Yeah, so with him, he's another like crazy yak guy. Like 9.3, 9.8, 9.5 yards after catch per reception the last 3 years. The reason I'm lower on him, but I do actually really like him, and he's a guy that I'm gonna swing on probably later in the draft if he's there. But you might swing on him earlier than I will. But is I think his ceiling is like Debo, which I'm surprised you didn't make that comp. That like because he's not the biggest, but he's thick, and he is such a threat when it comes to that yards after catch. My big concern for him is he was at Alabama for 3 years and never could, find his way onto the field. He wasn't getting a lot of run there. And then even when he came to Kentucky, he still only put up 540 yards. And so it's concerning to me that he was never able to become a star or like a number one target for a team. But I definitely see his upside. And if he goes to a good team that can put him in a good position to succeed and use him to his skill set, he could be really, really good.
Yeah. I'll take 9.5 yards after catch per reception.
Yeah.
Which to me says like it's the ops. Why didn't get the ops is a fair question. But he's a borderline UDFA according to consensus right now. And this is the time of year where Ryan and I we're starting to kind of reveal guys we're targeting. And then like even before we came on the air, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get Rodriguez. I'm like, crap, I gotta take him before 50. So we're gonna have to decide whether we're gonna hold our water or how early we're willing to reach. But Ryan and I've already agreed, and this is a good opportunity if you want to kind of talk about it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
This draft year, I think when you hit mid-round 4, take whoever you want. They're all the same guy.
Yeah. Yep. And honestly, that's kind of like for the most part, every single draft, unless it's a super deep draft, like round 1 is I'm targeting guys that have elite production and elite athleticism. That I know are going to be starters. Round 2, round 2 and 3, I'm probably going to be willing to accept somebody that has a flaw on one of those sides, right? Because that's where a lot of those flaws start to come in. And then day 3, you're just, whether it's swinging on production or swinging on athleticism, you're just trying to find guys that can contribute. The league average is 2 to 3, somewhere between 2 and 3 starters per draft is what you get. So if you can nail your first 3 picks and then find a guy later on, you're above the league average. Yep. So that's really what we're looking at.
We don't care where they come from.
Yeah. I mean, if I hit 2 starters in day 3 and my second and third round are a bust, okay, I still got 2 starters.
That's why you get 7 swings.
Yep. So, all right, I'm going to talk about Jeremy Bernard. When I first started this season looking at wide receivers, I think I had my own.
Uh-oh, your audio's out. Is your audio out? Yep. So Ryan's going to keep talking about Jeremy Bernard. I'm going to give it a moment here while he's recycling. He's probably already cursing his internet connection. But Jeremy Bernard is an underrated prospect. He's the guy I'm most sad I couldn't find a way to get on my top 10. I know that there are people out there who don't like him. Um, I definitely like receivers more than him, obviously, but he's definitely in that cluster. And you're talking about a guy who just, again, he's got a pretty good shuttle at 4.31. I think the knock is, do you believe his vertical or do you believe his 10-yard split? His vertical was 32 inches, which is, below average. And his 10-yard split is 1.52, which is average. So that's where people are like, it's weird when you have a 1.52 10-yard split and a 4.48 40. It questions how quickly you can get to that top gear. And I'm like, yeah, but by the time he catches the ball, he's probably already at that top gear. So I think for me, the knock on him is he's a guy you need to hit on time. He's a guy you need to hit while he's in a route. If you ask him to stop and catch the ball, you're putting him in a bad position. So I see Bernard as a coaching dependent guy. Welcome back, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry. I guess my wife unplugged my computer earlier when she was on her computer by accident. So it just crashed on me. So hopefully I'll get that back up here in a second. But yeah, Jeremy Bernard, I think my bias with him was the Bengals took Jermaine Burton a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and man, did he end up looking bad. But with Jeremy Bernard, the thing I really liked about him is I honestly think he is one of the better route runners in this class. He's a strong, physical player that can catch over the middle. He reminds me a lot, actually, of another Bengals guy, Tyler Boyd. He's a similar size, similar reliability with his hands. Not elite speed or athleticism, but he's got enough of it, and so I think he's going to be a really reliable target for a team.
Yep. So just for anyone listening and pointing out like hypocrite, because I stand behind it. 40 times don't matter. Why I brought it up is he has a fast 40 time, but a slow 10-yard split. And so people are really trying to reconcile those two things. It's because the 40 doesn't matter. So then you're looking at things that really matter. But he's good enough. But I don't know. Do you agree with my assertion that he's a guy you want? You don't want him running screens. You want him already at top speed, and you want to hit him in top speed.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I can brag about Skylar Bell. And
Yes,
Skylar Bell has been a guy a lot like with Cameron Stewart. And again, like hashtag small school guys play football too. If Skylar Bell played for even a Big 12 team, is UConn Big 12 now? I don't know. No, they're like an indie school.
Yeah, I think they're an independent right now.
So if Skylar Bell played for a Power 5 or Power 4 team, then he'd be a first round pick. It'd be certain because he has first round pick data everywhere you look. But he plays for UConn, so you're like, nah, he can't be that good. Watch the tape, yo. And he's played some pretty good competition. So he's just disrespected because he plays for UConn. He's got breakaway speed. He's got elite ability to catch 50-50 balls. He's bigger. He's 6 foot. Look, I don't prefer smaller guys. I prefer twitchier guys. He's got a 4.11 shuttle. Now, some will argue his contested catch rate is not the best. And I'm right back to, yeah, that's because he only had 19 contested catches. Stop looking at the percentages without looking at the total. Otherwise, you're not getting the whole picture. He is another one of those guys with like an elite 40, but a weird 10-yard split. But if you have one of the best shuttle times, I'm going to ignore that 10-yard split every time. Skylar Bell is underrated because he went to UConn, but he is not going to be underrated when he gets his opportunity in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of him as well. He's honestly my ideal target for the Bengals at pick 72. The thought of him being our slot receiver in there with T and Jamar is just like absurd. Um, but yeah, I think so. Why don't you talk about? I think you have Elijah Sherratt, right?
Yep, I got Elijah Surratt. Yeah, because Bell was your number 9.
Yep.
So Elijah Surratt. Again, I'm going to go back to in the beginning of the year when I was tracking Tyson, because he was one of the players that I tracked all season on our channel. You can check out the videos. And again, I love Tyson. This is not Tyson hate, but I don't see a distinction between the two because they're both Anquan Boldin-esque players. And Anquan Boldin was one of my favorite players when he played. The only distinction is Anquan Boldin was 1 million receptions and like 30,000 touchdowns, chain moving touchdown scoring guy. And trust me, those are valuable. You need those guys. Round 1 guys are reserved for ball in hand touchdown every time. Round 2 is this other tier where you're looking at he might not ever break away, and that's true of both of them. But that ball is his when it's in the air. And Elijah Surratt, that's why I have them grouped together. Elijah Surratt is that same elk of receiver. And in the NFL, when you are already a master of a back shoulder tandem, then you're going to be just fine because quarterbacks are doing that more and more and more and more. And the minute you jump on a double move, he may or may not be slow, but he gone because you bid on a pump action. So yes, Omar Cooper Jr. is the more talented of the two, but you could do a lot worse than draft a guy who's a guaranteed first down, a guaranteed red zone touchdown.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of him too. I have him just outside my top 10. So another reliable guy. So my last guy is Cyrus Allen out of Cincinnati. And he's currently in like the 150, 160 range, I think, on PFF. His consensus, I think, is probably closer to like 175, 180. I think that he is going to be a steal in this draft. I think he's probably going to go in round 4 or 5. The thing I love about him is that he is honestly probably the best route runner in this entire class. He has incredible agility, lateral movement. He's very deceptive with his moves. I really really like that. He's just able to get so much separation with the way he is able to like sink his hips into his turns and stuff like that. So it's really really awesome to watch him get open and then just not get the ball thrown to him because that's what Cincinnati did. So Cincinnati was pretty heavily reliant on the run, and he didn't get nearly as many targets as I wanted to see. He's the guy that I think goes in round 4 or 5, and then people are like, "Whoa, how did he fall that far?" That's my pick this year for that. Like, and honestly, he is someone that I would bet is going to be at a bare minimum a highly productive player for a while. He is a little smaller, but his speed, his hands, all that. I had a couple other things on my notes. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Did you skip out again?
no, am I there?
Yeah, you're there.
Sorry. But any thoughts on Cyrus Allen?
So Cyrus Allen scares me because you blow up the combine. I think that.
I think you're getting him confused. That's Jeff
Oh
Caldwell.
yeah, I keep getting those two confused
Yeah.
because it's the other
Cyrus Allen was a snub. He did not get to
Yeah,
go to the
Cyrus
combine.
Allen was the guy who got snubbed. He blew up the pro day, right?
Yeah, he was really good
Yeah,
in the pro
okay.
day.
So both still kind of apply. The problem with Georgia and Cincinnati prospects is, I don't know, there are a lot of people who believe in the Cincinnati quarterback.
Now Texas Tech quarterback.
I don't think I'm one of them. I'm going to give him another season to look at it. But that's a lot of talent around you. That's a lot of talent around you.
And he's going to
And
have even
either,
more around him this year, too.
yeah, so either you're a really good quarterback and those guys are just athletic marvels, which means they're not good football players, or they're really good football players and Texas Tech is about to be really disappointed in their multi-million-dollar investment. It's got to be one of those. And I don't know which one it is. I just don't. You're a Cincinnati guy. Do you have, what's more likely? The quarterback was the problem, or the wide receivers are overrated?
I mean, if we're being honest, I don't think it's the quarterback. I think it's the system. I am not a fan of the offensive coordinator or the head coach. I'm a really, really big fan of the offensive line coach. I think the offensive line coach is one of the best in the country. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. Is I think a lot of it was just by schematics. So that's kind of where I sit there. But it'll be interesting. I do think Sorsby can be good, but his decision making at times is horrible. So
There are people who think he's one of the first round marbles in the greatest class since last year and the year before that
yeah,
and the year before that. We just shared a slide because we just completed our study on all the first round quarterbacks, and like most of the 2021 class is gone. Like you everyone raves about, oh, this class had X quarterbacks going. Like, yeah, and like Y of them are unemployed now. So one, the league does need more patience, but don't get me wrong, there are some quarterbacks I'm excited about. Arch is not coming out. Get ready for it now. Manning's always maximize eligibility. That's what they do. So this year though, if he wins the Heisman and a Natty, then I'll be like, okay, he has nothing left to prove, but only in those circumstances. I actually, do you want me to try to bring up? I have a mock draft set up and going. Do you want me to try to bring that up on my end?
yeah, if you're able to.
All right, I'm going to share screen. Oh, wait, hold on. Is it share screen?
Yeah, it should be share screen.
Share screen. Share screen. That one. Allow. Thank you. That one. All right. Do you want odds or evens?
I will do evens this time.
All right. That means I got the first pick in the draft, and that's not difficult at all.
Wait, hold on. Is it sharing? I don't see it.
I thought I was sharing it. Was it a different one? Oh, I think I got to add it to stage.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. That's why Ryan makes the big money out of the two of us. All right. So we got the class up. I don't know why it looks like I'm doing this in Letterbox. But you know, first pick is pretty darn easy. You just take Fernando Mendoza. You give him a quarterback in front of him who'll let him develop, and then you play him in cleanup duty, or when the season's over, or when you got a playoff spot locked up, and then next year you move on and you're doing it the right way.
Yeah. All right. So then, and the next player I'm gonna go with. I want it to be Arvell Reese.
Yeah, me too.
But I personally believe it is going to end up being David Bailey, just because I do believe David Bailey has the most clear position. And so that's where I think he's going to go.
All right. I got to slow down because you might be thinking out loud. So with the Cardinals, are we doing trades?
I would say no.
Okay. Well, if the Cardinals have to stick and pick, I think there's legitimate argument for Reese, Styles, even Jeremiah Love. My gut says they're going to go with Francis Marinoa. I'm hearing a lot of other people go with Reese. It's just so weird because you're projecting in a lot of ways. If I'm going to take a linebacker, I'm going to take Sonny Styles. And that's kind of where I'm at with my thought process there. So I think I'm going to stick with my gut. When in doubt, take the best guy, and the best guy for me is the corner, Mansour Delane. But when you go to the line takes privilege. I'm going to go with Francis Marinoa because you can't do better than the best offensive lineman in the class.
Okay. And then I am going to go with what I am pretty sure, because this is the Titans, right? I can barely see. Um, I'm going to go with what I'm pretty sure is going to happen, and that is Jeremiah Love. I think that is the player that they're going to target. I think that makes the most sense for them. They're going to build around their rookie or young quarterback. Yeah.
You know, everyone talks about Saleh, and I know Saleh. Everyone talks about Saleh, but everyone forgets Saleh took a running back early his first year, and Saleh knows what a good running game does for a quarterback. Life pretty easy when you got a Christian McCaffrey type of guy. So the Giants. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna check again because I got two windows open. There. Oh, we're about to. What